The following presentation is part of the Beyond the Blast Doors network.
When I started this project about a month ago, or it was a bit longer than that, it was I had the inception in January and then reached out to all the content creators in February. It was a different world, and I wasn't able to finish this project on International Women's Day like I wanted to, but the inception behind the moment Star Wars spoke to me is for all groups, but this first episode is for all the female content creators, and I feel now, especially in today's time with the COVID-19, we need Star Wars even more in our lives to kind of get through this. So apologies with the delay in this project, but I present to you the moment Star Wars spoke to me as a woman.
What was the moment you remember the most in Star Wars that stood out to you as a woman? Hands down, it's the scene at the beginning of A New Hope after Leia records her message and gives it to R2. It's actually my first memory of Star Wars. It's as far back as I can go.
Right in the beginning of A New Hope, where you see Leia for the first time. It's the whole sequence of her putting the message into R2.
I first saw Star Wars as a young girl, and of course was immediately drawn to Princess Leia when I saw her jump out of hiding and shoot back at the stormtroopers.
There's one, set for stun.
And that scene really just brings the magic. It feels like the beginning of something huge.
She'll be all right. Inform Lord Vader we have a prisoner.
And then, of course, events unfold. She gets stunned, and then when she is being walked to Darth Vader, I loved that because she was just as cool as a cucumber. Like, you know underneath she was probably scared, but she was just playing it so cool and just trading barbs back to Darth Vader, and then after that she was trading barbs to Tarkin.
I recognized your foul stench when I was brought on board.
And it's just Carrie Fisher being herself, probably.
As a young sci-fi fan, it was great to finally have a strong and positive heroine, a character that went on to become a role model not only for me, but for many other young girls and women.
When I was little, I thought that I either had to choose between being a tomboy or the girl with the cool hair that rides bikes and plays sports. 7-year-old me thought it was Barbies or sports, and I had to pick. And then I saw Princess Leia. She had the coolest hair I'd ever seen. She wore some of the most beautiful, elegant dresses. She was kind, she was diplomatic, but she knew how to fight for herself.
She's totally willing to sacrifice herself for what she believed in, and that never left her. And it was only ever heightened because of the love of her friends, and one of those friends becoming her eventual lover and husband.
Look, your worshipfulness, let's get one thing straight. I take orders from just one person, me.
So one day you're still alive. Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
While Princess Leia was definitely a beautiful princess, she was also definitely not your typical damsel in distress. And it was great to see that as the movies went on, as her story went on, she remained a strong character and a leader and wasn't just sent back to be supporting cast.
Now, that scene might have less of an impact to watching it when you're older, because obviously you can be whoever you want, but 7-year-old me didn't know that. And so that scene with Leia holding the blaster at the beginning of A New Hope, hands down stands out the most to me as a woman.
Can't get out that way.
Looks like you managed to cut off her only escape route.
Maybe you'd like it back in your cell, Your Highness.
A couple that spoke to me, one was in A New Hope with Leia when they were trapped in the prison rock. And she took Luke's blaster and she was like, someone's got to save our skins.
Nice.
And, shot the door to get into the trash compactor. And, she took charge, and I love that. And that was cool to see, even as a young fan. You felt that she was, she didn't wait for them. She did it. She took charge. So that was a very cool moment for me. Stood out.
The one moment in Star Wars that stood out to me was my favorite moment in Star Wars till this day is when Leia and Luke are stuck on the bridge on the Death Star, and Luke accidentally shot the controls and shut off the bridge. It would not extend, and the troopers are coming from both ends. And they decide they're going to do this daring feat and just take a chance and swing for it. And before they do, Leia wraps her arms around him and she kisses Luke on the cheek and she goes, "For luck." And she buries her head down into the nook of his neck right in here, and they just... That for me is one moment that just stood out to me. It's a moment of excitement and adventure, of hope, of love and romance, and it just stuck with me all these years. And it's such a beautiful moment, and it cannot be copied ever.
We think they may be splitting up. They may be on level 5 and 6 now, sir.
No, I understand that George Lucas personally asked you to come back. Did it take some convincing?
No. I'm hope, of love and romance, and it just stuck with me all these years, and it's not ever again.
They may be on level 5 and 6 now, sir.
Hope, of love and romance, and it just stuck with me all these years.
The most inspiring,
and it's
he woman that didn't care what anybody else thought. So that's it. That's what I appreciate, the moments that have spoken to me as a Star Wars fan.
What about you? What research did you do?
I asked the early young Carrie Fisher. Partying and making sure that I mean, not as good as in the other sense.
By shit, you mean feces.
I will not condone a course of action that will lead us to war.
Natalie Portman as Queen Amidala in Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Now, in 1999, when that movie came out, I was a recent Star Wars fan. I was very new. I was a teenager. I was in high school. And when I found out that Natalie Portman was going to be playing Queen Amidala, it was a huge deal for me. We're the same age. Our birthdays are literally a day apart. I was really fascinated with her as an actress, and I thought, this is amazing. Here's somebody my age in a Star Wars playing a queen. And then when she came on that screen as Queen Amidala, and the way she spoke, the way she was strong and regal and tough and just amazing, really just captured me instantly. I was fascinated with her character. I was fascinated with the fact that she was basically playing two people. She was playing Queen Amidala and Padme. And to be that age and to be able to pretty much pull that off in this crazy Star Wars world was really amazing to me. And I thought she did an incredible job. And not only that, but the character itself was just incredible. I mean, we really just had Leia at that point, and to have another strong, young female character, someone that was ruling a planet, someone that didn't hesitate to do what was right for her people, someone that didn't hesitate to put herself in danger for the sake of her people and her planet was really amazing. And that character just showed so much range in the Phantom Menace. Compassion, strength, intelligence. It was a really big defining moment for me in Star Wars.
I ask you to help us. No, I beg you to help us. We are your humble servants. Our fate is in your hands.
The Star Wars moment that meant the most to me as a woman in the Star Wars fandom has to be the moment in The Force Awakens where Rey grabs the lightsaber from Kylo Ren.
Seeing the lightsaber go to Rey, like seeing, Kylo Ren is reaching out to this legacy lightsaber. That lightsaber, it belongs to me. But then it whizzes by him and it goes to Rey. Like it called out to her and then it responded to her.
When that moment happens, when she finally grabs the lightsaber and it goes flying by Kylo and she just has this moment of there's no turning back. I didn't realize how much it would mean to me that she was the one to grab the lightsaber until it actually happened.
I remember seeing the Force Awakens trailers and I remember seeing Rey and that they were marketing her as the main character of this trilogy. So I just was really interested in that and I really needed to learn a little bit more about it.
I remember being in the movie theater and just kind of assuming as an original trilogy fan, that's what I grew up with, that was the moment that Luke Skywalker was going to show up. And I was like so sure of it.
This is her story. She is the main character. Like who knows where it's going to go from here. Even seeing the look on Kylo Ren's face. Like this moment, like the Force awakened in Rey, but it also awakened something in me.
That moment to me was something that kind of moved me in a way that I never thought possible. For once, it was a woman that was grabbing the lightsaber, and it was a woman that was going to be the main hero of this trilogy, and there was something that was really, really exciting about that. I grew up with Luke Skywalker. He'll always be my childhood hero, but the idea that young girls were going to grow up with someone like Rey as their hero was just super exciting. I don't know, that moment just like brought tears to my eyes. To see someone like Rey, who at this point we didn't think was anyone. She was just no one, a scavenger from the desert, and she had the ability to kind of decide her own destiny and stick up for herself and her friends, and basically the galaxy to Kylo Ren. And they're just that moment where she grabs the lightsaber and you just see her resolve kind of wash over her and know that that moment changes everything. And that was like her the beginning of her hero's journey. That moment that is so powerful to the hero, I felt for it, and it was something that I had been waiting for. And that's why it will mean so much to me.
It's all about her. It's all hinging on her. I just dove headfirst into the fandom trash can, and I have never regretted it since. I've been able to meet so many amazing people through this, and it all started because Rey was the central point of the story. It all started because when Rey reached out, that legacy saber responded to her.
I would say for me, the moment Star Wars spoke to me as a woman that stood out the most, my first moment was the lightsaber, Rey grabbing the lightsaber, but as you saw, Lacey and the other Shannon described it perfectly. So there is another moment that really spoke to me, and that is the moment where Luke goes to Rey and is like, "Why are you here?"
You've seen this place. You've seen this island.
Only in dreams.
Who are you?
The Resistance sent me.
They sent you. What's special about you?
Because she first starts, saying off her usual, the Resistance sent, kind of, you can almost tell it's like this spiel. She just feels like a messenger. And it's the first time I think someone's really, A, spoken to her, and B, been like, what do you want?
Why are you here, Rey, from nowhere?
The Resistance sent me. We need your help. The First Order's become unstoppable.
Why are you here?
What's going on with you? And it's the way the monologue is played out. It is filmed in the close-up, and just it's acted beautifully. And it's just that hesitation, like finding those words, and that moment where Rey goes,
something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I'm afraid. I don't know what it is, or what to do with it. And I need help.
And it's interesting, at the time when this film came out, I was going through kind of a relapse with my epilepsy and things like that, so it really called to me because I know what that feels like, where it's like you have something going on in your body you just can't explain, and people treat you different. They don't mean to, or they don't know that they're doing it, but they treat you differently. And so this moment really called to me, and there's also a vulnerability to our main character that was fantastic, and it was just played beautifully by Daisy Ridley. It's shot, there's only I think 2 cutaways to Luke and his reactions, but it's held, and that emotion and that performance is great, and it really, really called to me, and is why Rey, one of the many reasons why Rey is one of my favorite characters.
You need a teacher. I can't teach you.
Why not? I've seen your daily routine. You're not busy.
I think one of my favorite moments was when Rey stepped to that mirror and she touched that mirror, and her question was, who raised her? And she saw nobody but herself looking back at her. And it is so hurtful and it's so painful. And when I was in that scene, I was like, that is the worst thing you could possibly see. And after I left The Last Jedi and I thought of that moment, I was like, that was painful, but it's almost like a thorn being plucked out. It's painful, but at the end there's a release to it, and there's an empowerment to it that, yes, this horrible thing happened to her,
But in that horrible event, she raised herself. She had enough strength and endurance and hope that she went through a tumultuous time being her own parent, raising herself, having the strength and the perseverance to survive. And I just found encouragement and relief and healing from that moment along with Rey.
I thought I'd find answers here. I was wrong. I'd never felt so alone.
Star Wars Animation has blessed us with some truly badass ladies. Sabine Wren, Hera Syndulla, Asajj Ventress, just to name a few. But we can't celebrate lady power in Star Wars without mentioning Ahsoka Tano. One of my favorite Ahsoka scenes in all of Star Wars takes place at the end of the Season 1 finale of Star Wars Rebels. The Ghost crew, who up to this point have been very isolated in their fight against the Empire, learn that there are in fact other Rebel cells scattered across the galaxy. And that's when Ahsoka Tano climbs down from the cockpit of the Rebel ship, the Ghost, and the Clone Wars fandom collectively lost its mind.
Ahsoka. My name is Ahsoka Tano.
She reveals that she is the hooded figure Fulcrum who had been in contact with the Ghost crew periodically throughout this season. This scene comes and goes really fast, but this was a pivotal scene for Star Wars Animation as it finally bridged the story between its two animated series and answered the big question, what happened to Ahsoka Tano after the Clone Wars? It was devastating when Ahsoka walked away from the Jedi Order. She spent her entire life on one path only to realize that everything she knew or thought she knew was wrong. But when we meet her again in Rebels, Ahsoka is confident and strong, and she knows her place in the galaxy. She's older, wiser, calmer, and she looks like a badass. In Rebels Recon, Dave Filoni described her Rebels costume and armor as a pseudo-samurai look, and it's amazing. The end of Star Wars Rebels Season 1 was a new beginning for Ahsoka and the Ghost crew. Ahsoka Tano would go on to have many pivotal moments in Star Wars Rebels, particularly the finales of Seasons 2 and 4. I have faith that one day we will learn how Ahsoka's story ultimately ends, but this moment in particular, this new beginning, meant a great deal to me.
One chapter has closed for you, Ezra Bridger. This is a new day, a new beginning.
Something is stirring in the underworld. I fear it is a fertile place for Maul to flourish.
Let him play with the rabble. It is of no relevance to the Senate compared to the Separatist threat.
The moment that Star Wars spoke to me was when I saw the Season 5 trailer for The Clone Wars on TV. When I was younger, I didn't watch TV too much, and I had seen the first few seasons of the show while it was on Cartoon Network, and then I kind of fell out of watching TV for a while. So I remember just watching TV one day, and I saw this trailer air, and I was so excited, and I knew that I had to get back into the show immediately, and I also needed to figure out what Ahsoka Tano had been up to. I, like many women, and I think many young fans, I was enamored by her. She is the first female Jedi, and I was just so excited to see her in action. My favorite parts when I was catching up with the show and what I had missed were all the scenes where she was fighting bad guys and being the hero and the leader. I remember in particular I loved the Citadel arc, and another favorite was when she fought Pre Vizsla in A Friend in Need in Season 4. So yeah, that is really the moment that Star Wars first spoke to me, was when I saw that trailer, and then I just learned everything and anything about Ahsoka and about the Clone Wars to get ready for the wild ride that was Season 5.
You lied to me.
You're in shock.
You went up there to kill my father.
You don't know what you're talking about.
Jyn Erso.
Love Jyn Erso.
Rogue One. Right after her father, Galen Erso, dies, and she's on the ship with Cassian, and he's trying to like tell her how to feel. And she puts him in his place by saying orders when you know they're wrong. You might as well be a stormtrooper. I just love that part, you know, because she just has this confidence about her. She shows him that you need to be a leader and not a follower. Just a strong female character. Just knows how to stand her ground. It's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, even her speech at the end, when they're in the rebel base, or even when they're also on the Imperial shuttle and she's rallying those rebels, absolutely phenomenal. Just love a female leader. It's great.
Yeah, she was a great female lead character, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, I loved, her whole speech when she was trying to tell them that they must act on it, and, you know, then she got, you know, Cassie and a bunch of those others to follow her, so that was awesome.
It was great.
Yeah, loved Jyn Erso.
Saw Gerrera used to say one fighter with a sharp stick, nothing left to lose, can take the day. They've no idea we're coming. They've no reason to expect us. If we can make it to the ground, we'll take the next chance. And the next. On and on until we win. Or the chances are spent.
Now, time to board your transport.
For the transports to escape, someone needs to stay behind and pilot the cruiser.
The moment in Star Wars that stood out to me as a woman and as an adult is Admiral Holdo's character arc in The Last Jedi. So I love this movie. It's a very character-driven movie. It's got a lot of internal conflict, and that's the kind of story that I like best. It's the kind of movie I like to watch. So it was really nice to see that in Star Wars. I think Holdo's character arc is the kind that improves on repeated viewing. First time I saw this movie, I didn't trust her. I don't really think we were supposed to. On the first viewing, I'm firmly on Poe Dameron's side in the beginning. I don't trust this new lady. On the second viewing, you sort of come to appreciate that she's just as worried about Leia being sort of taken out of commission. She's just as worried as everybody else is, but she can't let her feelings on the matter sort of dictate how she reacts to things. She's in charge. She's the one who has to make sure that everybody's going to get through the next few hours okay, and she sort of needs to put them first. And then especially after reading Princess of Alderaan, which I read the year after I saw the movie, then you realize that Leia isn't just Holdo's friend. She's her childhood friend.
May the Force be... You go, I've said it enough.
May the Force be with you, always.
Then in her final scene when she's saying bye to Leia, as Leia's boarding the shuttle to leave, and she's just so calm about telling Leia, like, not even explicitly what her plan is, but just in a way that Leia understands that what Holdo's about to do. She conveys it in this way where you get the impression that she doesn't think of this as like a no-win scenario. To her, being able to put her life on the line for the cause she has spent her whole life fighting for, and to make sure that everybody makes it through and that the cause survives, to her, whether or not she lives to see it, this is an absolute win. One of the things I love about Holdo is that she is the kind of person that I, as an adult, still aspire to be. She never feels the need to justify her actions when questioned if it's the right course of action. She's in charge. She shouldn't have to. What made this moment stand out to me was, you know, not only just how beautiful and emotional her arc was, but also how confident she is in her own ability, how much she like asserts her authority, and she makes the right decision, she stands behind it. And I think that makes her the type of role model that an adult woman would want to look up to, and, you know, is good for an adult woman to look up to.
Did you call for assistance?
Yes, I did.
Are you having a problem, Master Kenobi?
Yes, I'm looking for a planetary system called Camino. It doesn't show up on the archive charts.
A couple of moments that stood out for me in the last couple of years is how Charles Soule brought back Jucasta Nu in the Darth Vader comic books. Not only because I cosplay Jucasta Nu for the Rebel Legion, but that she's a senior citizen. And she became a badass senior citizen to stand up to Darth Vader and know exactly who he was and not taking any of his crap. So those really are a couple of moments that stood out for me in the Star Wars universe just recently, basically.
I hate to say it, but it looks like the system you're searching for doesn't exist.
Impossible. Perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
I can't think back to a time where Star Wars didn't matter to me. This is my 21st year in the Star Wars fandom. My first introduction was when I was 6 years old and I was taken to see The Phantom Menace opening weekend. I had no frame of reference for what Star Wars was. I just knew I liked sci-fi. I had grown up on Star Trek already. So I just sat down and, enjoyed the ride. And I remember coming out of the theaters and just wanting to see what else there was from this universe. So I watched the original trilogy, I picked up some expanded universe books to read, and I just kind of fell headfirst into this universe that was so expansive and so welcoming. And I just remember always having this love for Star Wars. I was a prequel trilogy kid, so I saw The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith. I watched the original trilogy until I wore out the VHS, and then I got DVDs. I have very fond memories of trying to build X-Wings in my garage, which was a nightmare and a complete failure, but I still have these fond memories of just feeling creative because of Star Wars, and that feeling hasn't stopped. And so I feel like every day that I write, every day that I create content, every day that I go on Twitter and I interact with my friends in this fandom, every moment Star Wars matters to me, because I've made some amazing friends. I've had some amazing experiences, all because of Star Wars. And I feel like that's what's really important, is not a precise moment, but a continuation of moments. I have this quote on my bedroom wall that says, "Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the number of moments that take your breath away." And, Star Wars is one of those moments. Every moment within the Star Wars fandom has been fantastic, even at its worst. It's still fun. It's still somewhere that I feel at home. And I feel like at its core, Star Wars has a lot of themes that are relevant in everyday life, whether it's hope or rebellion or home. And the family that you have and the friends that become your family, I feel like that's what makes Star Wars important, and that's what makes it important to me. So I feel like Star Wars is just a series of important moments. And I can think back on my life and mark it by moments that Star Wars had an effect on me. Some of the friends I have today were made because I saw that they liked Star Wars, or they were wearing a Star Wars shirt, even before social media the way it is today. So I feel like Star Wars as a whole is what matters to me. I can't think of a precise moment, except perhaps that moment I first saw a Star Wars movie. It's just been a fantastic ride, and I know that I'll always love Star Wars and make of it what matters to me.